I have returned from the mountains in my exile, the self-imposed exile, because no one told me, John Chrymes, you have to only come out with your documentary next. For I told that to myself. I'm sitting here every single night trying to piece together what I feel is my greatest work. And I miss you guys. And I look at everyone else's channel and I see their videos and I see their content and I feel like I'm pushed on the sideline. And then I woke up. I woke up and I told myself, you don't have to do that. You can do anything you want to. It's your YouTube channel. So what we're going to do is bring back Crimes with Crimes. That way you have regular content. And since I know for a fact that this video will be out within the hour of me filming it, it's nice to finally say that I'm back. A little life update. I received a job promotion which now requires me to travel 50% of the time to different states. So that's going to make work a little bit harder, but you guys shouldn't notice that, as I should keep putting out Crimes with Crimes as I work on my documentary. So I have that taken care of as well. But it has been a hectic life change. I am looking for a new home in another state where I have to put a child into school in another state. I've never done any of these things before. So a lot is going on with changes in my life, which causes me, that's why you haven't seen anything on the channel. However, in going to different states, the last state I went to last week actually was Texas. I went to Dallas, Texas. And on the radio all over the entire time I was there, everyone was talking about the Amber Guyger trial. So I looked into it. I've been looking into it every day, every little break that I get from making my Zach and Addie documentary. And I do have thoughts on it, so I wanted to make a video on it, and that's why we're sitting here right now. Now, if you guys don't know, Amber Guyger is a police officer in Dallas, Texas, who was coming home from a long shift, she says, and she lives on the 3rd floor of an apartment complex. Unbeknownst to her, she walked on the 4th floor, opened the door, says that she saw an intruder, and within seeing this intruder, she shot and killed a man. She killed the man that was on his couch about to eat ice cream in the comfort of his own home. Now, there were several mistakes that were made after this, as you can look on video footage and see. Amber was more afraid and concerned for her life. It didn't seem that she did any kind of CPR. The victim was Dothan John, who is from St. Lucia. I went to St. Lucia myself in the past, but he was a great guy around the community. So he's a very fun, loving person. Prior to Amber arriving at his apartment, a friend left. And this friend testified on the stand that he heard John say, hey, 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 and that was it. Amber says that she said, get your hands up. And this is going to be important. Now, one of the reasons what made me just stop sporadically this morning and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to record my first Crimes with Crimes coming back on this case, is I dropped my kids off at school this morning. I came in the house and I looked at my kitchen, and the layout to my kitchen and living room is literally the same as the apartment complex. You'll see a kitchen, and then you'll see a kitchen counter, and on the other side of the kitchen counter, on the right side of the wall, you'll see a couch. So for those who's wondering, if this wasn't her apartment, how did she get inside? Well, the door was cracked, a little bit ajar. As he made his ice cream to sit down, I guess he didn't know he had his door a little ajar. So she stuck her key in. She didn't really have to turn it to see. It's a major coincidence, by the way. The door opens, most doors open to the left. So the door opens, you take your left hand and you swing the door to the left. She says she was trained to keep her right hand free. Her gun's on her right side. She's getting off duty. So look at these steps that it has to take for her to kill this man. She has to open the door. She has to see a guy in the living room, unsnap, pull her gun out, and she says she told him, "Get your hands up, get your hands up." And then she shot him twice, one shot missing, one shot going directly through his heart, down through his intestines, and he didn't die instantly as the paramedics arrived on scene and they tried to save him. I feel like Amber has two things working against her. The fact that she said that she's in the wrong apartment means in order for this to be an accident, everything has to happen extremely fast. The longer she spends time in that apartment, the more her story doesn't check out. Amber was sending explicit messages and photos to a coworker of hers from the last time they had contact with each other to the time that the police was called on scene for the shooting was 3 minutes. 3 minutes. All this happened. She stopped texting him as she walked up on the wrong floor, and there's a red mat on the ground in front of his apartment that's not on anyone's apartment on the fourth floor, not on anyone's apartment on the third floor where she lives, particularly not her floor. So she's putting her key into this thing. She's standing on this bright red mat. At first, I thought this was an extremely easy case because I heard prior that she had arguments with John, and I heard that over loud music. But then none of this came up in trial, really. So there was no like dispute. So maybe that was rumors. I don't know. But if that was the case, to me, she had an argument with her neighbor. She got upset and could try to show her authority as a police officer and murdered him. But that's not true. Then I had to go back and look at all the evidence in the trial, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, wow, there's a possibility that she could have walked into the wrong apartment, and this could be an accident. But after seeing the layout of the apartment, along with the police footage as they walked in, and her worrying about herself outside, talking on the phone, have nothing to do with trying to save this man that you feel you accidentally shot. Matter of fact, let's go upstairs. I want to show you guys something. Okay, so the camera, let me move it a little bit. Okay, right here. So I want you to see that side door. Okay, so right now you're looking at the basic layout. This is of my kitchen, but this is the exact same layout as Dothan John's apartment and Amber Guyger's apartment. As whenever you walk into their apartments, the camera here that we're looking at right here is the door. So she opens the door from the left, she walks in, you see a kitchen, you remove the island. They don't have an island, so it's just open space right here. But you see a stove and everything to the far right. You see a side door, and on the other side of that counter is the kitchen, is the couch in the living room, which is where he was sitting with his back up against the right side of the wall. He was found on the floor laying down right in front of that couch back there. So he never made it across the counter. He never made it 1 foot from where he was sitting at. And so you look at this situation, you look at how many options she pretty much had. So she would walk inside from here with her left hand, open the door. She has to take the safety off of her gun, pull her gun out, and point it at Mr. Dothan John. Now, it's different like this. The layout makes me feel like I'm there inside of their apartment as she does this. And I'm looking at where is the fear? Where is the fear at? She said that she told him, although no witnesses corroborated this, put your hands up, put your hands up. Let's take her word for it. If she told him in this layout, she's standing here and she tells him this. Now, there is right here, this door leads outside to my place, but this leads to their bedroom here. But she has all of this space before you get to this, even this door where she's standing behind. And she doesn't have a clear shot unless she shoots him over the kitchen counter. She would have to walk all the way to where the door is and come from a side shot to shoot him. But why would she walk that far if there's real fear? So I don't understand that part. She either walked here or she shot him from the kitchen across the counter as he stands up. The angle of the shot is going down, they say, through his chest and heart, but they couldn't prove this 100%. So either he's standing up and she tells him all the way here across the kitchen counter, freeze or put your hands up, and he says, hey, hey, which witnesses said that they heard him say that. So just think about it. Her defense is she was in the wrong apartment. if she's in the wrong apartment, all she had to do, keep her gun pointed at him. Either he would have got more words off and said, hey, get your crazy ass out of my apartment, or she would just stand there waiting for backup with the gun pointed towards him. As there's no threat, he has to come all the way around the counter. He has to come from all the way back here. He has to go right, left, straight, just to get to her, to harm her, or throw and hit her with his ice cream. So that's a lot of steps that a person has to go to mean you bodily harm. She never said he reached for anything. She never said she thought he had a weapon. So he has to like run around at her. But she feels fear. So that's why I'm left with one conclusion, one major piece of theme that lets me know that this woman is guilty. And here's the thing. Let's talk about it. If I'm on the jury, this is murder. The biggest problem Amber has going against her, if I'm to be a fair juror based upon everything I'm seeing in this trial, is that kitchen countertop. I don't care that they've added Texas version of stand your ground. It's irrelevant to me. I don't see a plausible fear. Now, we know that this isn't her apartment, but I'm trying to take apart her story. In her brain, she sees an intruder inside of her apartment. Look at how long this apartment is. And the kitchen counter. That kitchen counter. The little second thing is the ironing board. But without the ironing board, there's no way that you can go inside of your apartment, right? You open the door with your left hand. Now, again, I tell you, the more time she spends inside of this apartment, to me, it hurts her. So in her version of the story, she told him, put your hands up, put your hands up. Where did she tell him to put her hands up? Did she say it from the front door that has an entire kitchen between them? And also, she's protected because he's around a kitchen counter on the couch. Did she tell him from there? And if so, what action could he have taken to pose a threat? I don't understand that part. Because even if he was some weird robber monster guy and wanted to scream and run at her, he has to run to the right, come around the counter, and come at her at the front door. Now, another version, if she went all the way to where the bedroom door was on the side, giving her a straight shot down at him, not shooting him over the kitchen counter, but right there, she's advancing towards someone. Advancing towards him in a straight line of fire. I don't see how that could be self-defense. There's nothing that her defense attorney can do to get me around the kitchen counter. If I went into the jury room to deliberate, I'm already ready to write her down for murder. There's nothing that they can pull out or we can discuss to make me let her go free or to be innocent based upon what was given on trial. But the biggest thing is the layout of their apartment building. Now, one thing we can deliberate on is, was it second-degree murder or was it manslaughter? Texas doesn't have a second-degree murder in their state. It's simply called murder, and they do have a manslaughter. Matter of fact, let me see. I think I have, let me see, the difference between the two, and I do. So right here we have murder. Let's do murder first. It says the definition of murder. The defendant intentionally and knowingly caused the death of another person. The defendant intended to cause serious bodily injury and commit an act that was clearly dangerous to human life. And this act caused the death of an individual, or the defendant committed or attempted to commit a felony other than manslaughter, and in performing that felony committed an act that was clearly dangerous to human life, and this act caused the death of an individual. That's the definition of second-degree murder or just murder in the state of Texas. So the first dot, the defendant intentionally and knowingly caused the death of another person. Yes, she intentionally shot at Dothan John. She intentionally did that. The defendant intended to cause serious bodily injury and commit an act that was clearly dangerous to human life. Yes, she literally did that. She pointed her gun and she shot him. She shot at him twice. She shot at him between the buffer of 2 rooms and the kitchen counter. Now, let's go and let's look at the definition of manslaughter. Manslaughter in the state of Texas says to convict a defendant of manslaughter, the prosecutor must be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant recklessly caused the death of another individual. Reckless conduct. There's no requirement of premeditation, meaning she didn't have to plan this out. It could be in spur of the moment to this crime, and no requirement for there to be intent or knowledge on the part of the defendant. The only requirement is that the defendant's conduct was reckless. This was extremely reckless, according to police procedure, which her own partner said that they would not have gone into the building. They would have waited for backup. That's what they were trained to do. She could have stayed in the hallway. She could have closed the door. She didn't do that. She walked into there. She released the safety strap holding her gun down. She unsnapped it. She pulled her gun out. She took the safety off of her gun. She aimed it at him. And I believe, as he was saying, hey, hey, because it makes natural sense. He's sitting down. Someone comes into his apartment. That is a fact. This is his apartment. He was not an intruder, regardless of what her brain thinks. This is his apartment. Someone comes into your apartment and you're about to eat a bowl of ice cream and you jump up. The first thing he says, hey, hey, I believe the shots were clearly fired then. If she were to point that gun at him and she were to ask him, put your hands up, why would she pull the trigger? Why? Was she asking him as he was sitting down? If she was asking him as he was standing up, he was all the way standing up, and she's in the kitchen with a counter between them, and he's on the other side, and he says, hey, why would you shoot him? What was the cause for shooting him? This is murder to me. This is murder. And if it were to be manslaughter, which manslaughter is scary because of how minimum you can go. In Texas, manslaughter is anywhere from 2 years to 20 years. I would hope that it would be the full 20 years. Now, the one thing I hate about trials, especially on stand your ground cases or Trayvon Martin case, or even this Dothan John case, the one thing I hate is that the person is deceased. So all we talk about is the person that killed them. All we see her tears, we see everything about her on the trial. We see that she feels that this is her place and she feels this is an intruder. Everything is revolved around her world, her viewpoint, because the other person isn't here to speak up for themselves. So I just would like for the end of this video for you guys to just sit here and take a moment of silence and just think that you are in your own apartment. You are sitting down. It's just a regular night and you're about to eat a bowl of ice cream and you lose your life. My condolences go out to the John family, to his parents, and everyone who in the community who lost someone that was very, very special and dear to them. On the next Crimes with Crimes, it's going to be sort of a continuation from the Zach and Addie. The Zach and Addie documentary will come out, and there's another murder case that's closely connected to it. So to finish up the Zach and Addie story, the Crimes with Crimes after it would involve that case. After that, I was going to tell you guys a major surprise from my channel of a documentary that I'm going to do. I spoke with my friend Stephanie Harlow, who's enjoying her. She'll tell you guys. But she told me, don't even tell you guys. She said, just do it and just have it pop up. No clues, no talking about it. Just do it. And that's what I'm going to do. I got a lot of new subscribers and you're seeing this little icon right here. You see everywhere all over my channel, the little X, the little knife, the little check mark, the little sandwich. And I'll explain to you guys what that means using this case. You know, when you commit murder, and I'm quite sure since this happened that night, Amber has a lot to think about as she feels she's going to prison. You know, the first things you think about is your family and the huge things that you're going to miss out on. But when you're behind bars, you start to think about those small, trivial things like being able to randomly go out and buy your favorite kind of ice cream to eat, being able to do whatever it is you like to do. So Amber could have closed that door, apologized for going into the wrong apartment. She didn't. She chose to go against police training. She chose to act irrational in what a prudent person would not do. And it's because of that I always say, don't kill, make a sandwich. See you guys next time.